Hello, I'm Maple, and I want to make a game eventually. But to make a game, I have to spend my days thinking about games. So I want to make this video real quick about Half-Life 2, right? But I made tiramisu today, and I have work tomorrow, so we have to make this quick. Gran Turismo 3 is one of the best games you could possibly buy for cheap. And note, this B-roll is from GT4 because I didn't have GT3 on my emulator, sorry. One of my favorite hobbies is collecting video games. This is obvious if you watched any YouTuber of all time. But unlike those Scott the Waz ass dudes, I don't have infinite money to spend on the limited edition copies of Mighty Number 9 limited edition for Wii U. My theory on video game collecting is a ratio of enjoyment to cost. The less you cost and the more you enjoy it, the better. Although my brain wants the risk versus reward of game collecting physically. So even if a game is good and free and I get it digitally, my brain just doesn't like it because it doesn't have the attachment towards the physical object. No idea why. One time I went to a local library, right, and they had a bunch of PS2 games for sale, like $1 or $2 each. So I got a copy of Gran Turismo 3, right? And my history of racing games is mostly from this era, the PS2 era. One of my favorite and most foundational memories of my childhood was playing Midnight Club 3 Dub Edition. And I guess the one for PS2. There's Dub Edition and there's the Remix Edition on PS2. That's PSP, PS2. And Need for Speed Underground 2. That's the GameCube version, which influenced my absolute love of racing games and the night aesthetic and nighttime driving. Of course, these are the arcade variety of racing games, in contrast to Gran Turismo, which is a simulation racer. Arcade racers are usually the less worried about realistic handling and have things like nitrous and really extreme racing models and damage models. Simulation racers want to be mostly realistic with some adjustments that keep the game fun at times. They have mild racing and damage models. So, think of, Need for Speed versus, Forza. Or, I guess a more extreme example would be, Mario Kart or Diddy Kong Racing versus, Drive Club or Euro Truck Simulator. I don't know. So when I was a kid, I thought a simulation racer would be boring as hell, right? But whenever I got this random PS2 disc, I decided to try it out. And, man, Gran Turismo is fun. I call GTA dad game. It is a very basic vibe and theme, very accessible, but has a very accessible gameplay loop and a very accessible, theme. I mean, cars. There's nothing that a dad likes more than cars. And it would be the kind of game that a dad would play for 100 plus hours. The reason that I mentioned the price to performance ratio is that GT games are basically infinite in a way. In strict terms, there's a limit to how many tracks and races and cars or whatever you can collect. But the permutations and structure of the game lend itself to be playing for a long, long time. You can just go in a race and grind for better and better cars for a long, long time. But for me, the fun is doing a few races here and there and just getting off. The GT games have an insanely good feeling handling model. Like Polyphony Digital back in the 2000s was him. They were head and shoulders above the competition when it came to getting the details of cars correct. The idling, the acceleration, the braking, the stats, the customization, even the used car prices circa whatever year the game took place. That's why I mentioned the price. You get the best feature of AAA gaming, which is detail and artistry. Big budget artistry, getting all of the, everyone at all cylinders because it's their job. But for like $5 to $10. This is why I like collecting old games, because you get to appreciate games better as art pieces, or I guess just as fun in the context of their release or context of like their console without having to participate in social media hype cycles or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like you get to appreciate the game on its own terms, if anything. Gran Turismo 1 through 5, aka the games that I played, are the mainstays of my I want to play a game right now game state, along with like Mega Man or something. And I highly recommend them if you like collecting old PlayStation stuff or like emulating the library. I can't say anything about the games past 5 because I haven't played them, but most likely they have insanely good handling as the other games too, like the same kind of handling. But yeah, pick up the Gran Turismo games if you get a chance. They had sold a fuck ton of copies. I think they're like the best-selling games on like every PlayStation console, at least for like the first 3 consoles, and they're dirt cheap if you want an incredible racing simulation game. I mean, there's nothing better than a couple of games of races in Gran Turismo. So that's it. Thank you.